Hello families, welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story opens the door to a new world. Don't forget to subscribe, it would really mean the world to us. Now, let's begin. It started with a word. A simple word. Just a name. Daniel, could you pass me the salt? I said at the dinner table. The spoon clattered from my mother's hand as though I had cursed. Her face hardened instantly, eyes narrowing like daggers cutting through me. What did you just say? I froze, the piece of yam halfway to my mouth. My stepfather shifted uneasily, his fork scraping against the plate, but he didn't speak. He never spoke in moments like these. He just sat there, letting her fury swallow me whole. I said, "Daniel," I whispered, almost regretting it. Her palms slammed against the table. The plates rattled, water nearly spilling from the jug. "Don't you ever call him that." Her voice was sharp enough to make my little brother flinch in his chair. My chest tightened. I could feel the anger rising inside me, but I fought it down. "But that's his name," I said quietly, defiant but trembling. Her voice cut through me like thunder. "He is your father." My stepfather's lips curled into something between a smirk and a grimace, but still he said nothing. His silence was worse than her shouting. It was like he enjoyed watching me drown. "I already have a father," I snapped before I could stop myself. "And he's not sitting at this table." The words escaped like fire, burning everything. The room went deadly still. My mother's hand shook as she gripped her spoon, her knuckles white. My stepfather leaned back, his eyes cold, detached, as if he wasn't even in the same world as us. "You ungrateful child," she spat, her face twisted with rage. "Do you want to destroy this family? Do you want to shame me in front of him?" "I didn't mean," I tried, but she was already on her feet. "Enough." The sound of her chair scraping the floor echoed like a warning. I should have stopped. I should have apologized. But my pride wouldn't let me. Instead, I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Then maybe this family was never real." That was the match that lit the explosion. The slap came before I even realized her hand had left her side. My cheek burned, and tears stung my eyes, not from pain, but from the humiliation. "You will not talk to me like that in my house," she screamed, pointing toward the door as though she wanted to erase me from the very walls. I stumbled back, clutching my cheek. My stepfather's fork finally dropped, clinking against the plate, but he still didn't defend me. Not a word. Just silence. "Say something," I shouted at him, desperate. "Tell her I didn't mean it like that." He leaned back in his chair, wiping his mouth slowly with a napkin. Then, with a voice as calm as a judge pronouncing a sentence, he said, "Respect is earned, not demanded." "She clearly doesn't respect me." My mother gasped, turning to him with betrayal in her eyes. "Daniel." The way she said his name, the very word I wasn't allowed to use, twisted something inside me. "You see," I said bitterly. "You call him Daniel. But I'm not allowed to. Why is it different when I say it?" "Because you are my child," she roared. "And children don't speak to their parents as if they are strangers in the street." "But he is a stranger," I whispered. Her breath caught. The veins in her neck pulsed with fury. "That's it," she said, her voice low and dangerous now. "Get out." I blinked, stunned. "What?" "Get out of my house." The room tilted. My brother dropped his spoon, food spilling onto the floor. My stepfather folded his arms, his lips twitching with what looked like satisfaction. "You can't be serious," I whispered, my voice cracking. "It's night time. Where do you expect me to go?" Her answer was cold as ice. "Anywhere. Just not here." The house seemed to spin as I grabbed my small bag from my room. My hands shook as I stuffed in whatever clothes I could find. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. "Mom, please," I begged, standing at the doorway of her room, my voice breaking. "I didn't mean it. I'm sorry." She didn't even look at me. She sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, her shoulders trembling. "You disrespected him," she whispered. "What about me?" I asked, my voice rising. "Don't I matter? Don't my feelings count?" Her head snapped up, eyes wet with tears I had never seen before. You will understand when you are a mother." And with that, she turned away. The finality in her tone was heavier than any door she could slam. I walked back into the living room, dragging my bag. My stepfather was still there, sipping his water as if nothing had happened. He didn't look at me. Didn't say a word. I wanted him to. I wanted him to stop me. To say, "Stay. You're still part of this family." But he didn't. As I opened the door, my mother's voice came from behind me. "If you walk out tonight, don't expect to walk back in." The door shut with a thud, sealing my fate. The night air slapped me harder than her hand had. It was cold, sharp, and unwelcoming. The street was empty, the houses quiet. The only sound was the distant barking of a dog and the hum of a streetlight. I stood there, clutching my bag, staring at the door I had just been pushed out of. For a moment, I thought she might open it. That she might call my name, tell me she didn't mean it. But the house stayed dark and silent. Tears blurred my vision as I started walking. My slippers slapped against the pavement, each step heavier than the last. The neighborhood I had grown up in suddenly felt foreign, like the streets were rejecting me too. Every shadow looked like a threat, every whisper of the wind like laughter at my misery. I thought about turning back, knocking on the door, falling to my knees and begging her to forgive me. But then I remembered her eyes, cold, final, unshaken. There was no going back. The road stretched endlessly before me, lit only by the flickering streetlights that buzzed like dying insects. My bag grew heavier with each step, though I knew it was mostly empty. The deeper I walked, the louder the silence became. My thoughts screamed inside my head, replaying the dinner table like a cursed memory. Why did I say his name? Why did I push back? Why didn't I just stay quiet like always? But another voice inside me whispered, "Because you were tired of being silent." I hugged myself as the wind picked up, carrying with it the smell of damp earth and smoke from distant fires. My body shivered, but my mind burned. I thought about my real father, the man whose face I barely remembered. I wondered if he would have treated me like this. Or if he would have fought for me, instead of against me. Suddenly, a sound broke through my thoughts. "Are you lost?" The voice came from the shadows. I froze. My heart skipped a beat as I turned. A man stood under a flickering streetlight, his face half hidden in shadow. And in that moment, I realized, being thrown out of the house wasn't the end of my story. It was only the beginning. "Are you lost?" The man's voice slid through the night air like a whisper I wasn't supposed to hear. I froze in my tracks, clutching my bag tighter. My mother's warnings echoed in my head, never talk to strangers at night. But here I was, with no home, no choice, and no direction. I squinted at him under the flickering streetlight. He looked middle-aged, maybe late 30s. His clothes were worn but not ragged, a faded shirt tucked into trousers, shoes dusty with long walks. His eyes, though shadowed, carried something I couldn't name. Was it kindness or danger? "I'm fine," I lied, trying to sound braver than I felt. "I know where I'm going." "Really?" he said, stepping forward slowly. "Because you're walking in circles." My stomach tightened. I said I'm fine. He raised his hands in surrender. Okay. I'm not here to hurt you. You look young. And alone. That's not safe at this hour." The streetlight flickered again, casting him fully in view for a split second. His face was tired, but his eyes were soft, too soft for a predator. Still, trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. "Who are you?" I asked. "Name's Mr. Jonah," he said. "People around here just call me Jonah. I run the old shelter downtown. Maybe you've heard of it." I shook my head. "Well," he continued, "you don't have to trust me. But you look like you could use a roof over your head. Just for the night." I hesitated. A roof meant safety. Or a trap. But what choice did I really have? My voice came out shaky. "And what if I don't want to?" "Then I'll keep walking," he said, shrugging. "And you'll keep walking. Maybe the night swallows you. Maybe it doesn't. But the offer's there." He turned, walking toward the darker end of the street, not looking back. Something in me, call it instinct, call it desperation, told me to follow. And so, I did. The shelter was nothing like I expected. Jonah led me to a crumbling building at the edge of town. Its walls were cracked, its windows patched with cardboard, its sign barely legible in the dark, Haven House. Inside, the smell of damp wood and faint smoke hit me. Old mattresses lined the walls, thin blankets folded on top. A few figures stirred in the shadows, men and women, some old, some young, faces etched with stories I couldn't yet imagine. "This is it," Jonah said, spreading his arms as if presenting a castle. "Not much, but better than the street." A woman near the corner lifted her head, her eyes hollow. A boy about my age, maybe younger, sat cross-legged on the floor, humming to himself. The air was thick with unspoken pain. I clutched my bag tighter. I don't know if I can stay here." Jonah smiled gently. "No one knows if they can. Until they do." He handed me a folded blanket. "There's a spot over there. Get some rest." I wanted to refuse, to walk back into the night. But exhaustion wrapped its fingers around my body, dragging me down. My legs trembled, my eyes stung. I nodded weakly, taking the blanket. As I lay down on the cold floor, I whispered to myself, "This is temporary. Just one night." But deep down, I already knew, this place would hold more than just a night's sleep. Sleep didn't come easily. Every creak of the building, every cough or shuffle from the others made my heart jump. I rolled onto my side, my hand brushing against something rough beneath the mattress. Curious, I reached under and pulled it out. A notebook. Old, battered, its cover stained and torn. My fingers trembled as I flipped it open. The first page was filled with handwriting, messy, hurried, almost desperate. "If anyone finds this, know that I never meant for things to end this way." I blinked, confused. I turned another page. More writing, more confessions. The notebook wasn't just random scribbles. It was someone's diary. But then, I saw it. A name. The same name as my stepfather. Daniel. The word jumped off the page like fire, searing my eyes. I shut the notebook quickly, my breath caught in my throat. My heart hammered in my chest. Coincidence? Maybe. But what were the odds? I looked around the shelter. No one seemed to notice me. No one seemed to care. Slowly, I opened the notebook again, needing to know more. The more I read, the colder I felt. The notebook wasn't just a diary, it was a collection of letters. Letters never sent, written by someone who once lived in this shelter. And in every few pages, the name returned. Daniel. Daniel promised me he would come back. He said he would take care of me. Daniel lied. He built a new life. Left me here with nothing but shame. My skin prickled. My stepfather's name wasn't common. And the way these letters described him, it was too familiar. I read faster, desperate for more. He thinks no one knows about the child. But secrets don't stay buried forever. Child. My hand shook so hard the notebook nearly slipped from my grip. Was this about him? Was this about my stepfather? I flipped to another page, my breath shallow. If anyone finds this, tell her the truth. Tell her who he really is. Tell her before it's too late. Her. Who was her? I stared at the words, my mind racing. Was it my mother or me? The notebook felt heavier the more I held it, as though the secrets inside had weight. I closed it, hugging it against my chest, my thoughts a storm. If this was about my stepfather, then everything I thought I knew was a lie. The anger from earlier that night surged back, hotter now, more dangerous. My mother hadn't just defended him out of pride, she had defended a man with secrets. I needed to know the truth. Couldn't sleep. The voice startled me. Jonah was standing nearby, his arms crossed. I quickly shoved the notebook into my bag. I was just restless. His eyes lingered on me for a moment, then he nodded slowly. Happens to everyone their first night here. He walked away, but I could feel his curiosity. I lay back down, staring at the ceiling. Sleep never came. The words from the notebook haunted me. Tell her the truth before it's too late. Too late for who? One thing was certain. My stepfather wasn't who he claimed to be. and I was going to find out why. The dawn crept slowly through the cracks in the shelter's walls. Sleep had never come, only a restless half-dream of shadows and voices I couldn't silence. I sat cross-legged on the mattress, the notebook open in front of me. My fingers traced the last entry, the one that ended mid-sentence. If anyone finds this, tell her the truth. The ink bled into a smudge, as though the pen had been snatched away. Tell her the truth. The words circled in my mind. Who was her? Was it my mother? Or was it me? My heart pounded with the possibility that I was the her the writer meant. But the rest of the story was missing. No name. No explanation. Just silence. I closed the notebook, frustration clawing at me. I needed answers, real answers. And the only place I could get them was from the man himself. Daniel. By nightfall, my decision was made. I couldn't stay at the shelter. Every page of that notebook was a question screaming for an answer. Jonah noticed me stuffing the notebook into my bag. "Leaving already?" he asked. His voice was calm, but there was concern in his eyes. "I have to," I said, my voice shaking but firm. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Where will you go?" "Back home." "After how she treated you?" I swallowed hard. "I don't have a choice. There's something I need to know. Something he's hiding." Jonah studied me for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Sometimes the truth does more harm than the lie. Be careful what you go digging for, girl. You might not like what you find." I tightened my grip on my bag. I'd rather choke on the truth than starve on lies. His lips curled into the faintest of smiles, like he respected my fire, but his eyes remained heavy. I walked out into the night once more. This time, though, I wasn't lost. This time, I was hunting. The house looked different now. Not the home I grew up in, but a fortress holding secrets. The windows glared at me like eyes, the walls whispering all the things I was never meant to know. My stomach churned as I knocked. For a moment, I thought no one would answer. Then, the door creaked open. My mother stood there. Her face was pale, her eyes rimmed with red as though she hadn't slept. "What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice sharp but trembling. I pulled the notebook from my bag and held it up. "I found this." Her reaction was immediate. Her breath caught, her hand shot to her mouth. Her eyes widened in horror, recognition flashing like lightning across her face. Where did you get that?" she whispered, stepping back. I stepped forward, my voice hard. "You know about it, don't you? You know what's inside." She shook her head violently. "You shouldn't have that. Give it to me." I clutched it tighter. "Not until you tell me the truth." Her lips quivered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please. You don't understand." "No," I said firmly. "I finally do understand. You've been protecting him. You've been protecting his lies." Her knees buckled, and she sank to the floor, sobbing. I had never seen my mother cry like that before. Not once. The sound of footsteps filled the hall. My stepfather emerged, his presence sucking the air from the room. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice calm, controlled, as always. My mother scrambled to her feet, wiping her tears, her eyes darting between me and him like a trapped animal. "She found it," she whispered. His eyes flicked to the notebook in my hand. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. "Say something," I demanded, my voice shaking with rage. "Is it true? Were these letters about you?" He walked toward me slowly, his eyes locked on mine. For a moment, I thought he would strike me, or tear the notebook from my hand. Instead, he stopped inches away, his face unreadable. "Sometimes silence is safer than the truth," he said finally. My blood boiled. "You ruined my life with your silence. You made me the enemy in my own home." Still, he said nothing. His eyes flickered, guilt, shame, or maybe nothing at all. But that silence screamed louder than any confession. My mother clutched his arm. "Please, Daniel. Tell her. Tell her before she destroys herself trying to find out." But he pulled away. And the silence grew heavier. I couldn't take it anymore. I ripped the notebook open, thrusting the pages at him. Then I'll read it. I shouted. I'll read every single word until you can't hide anymore. The room trembled with my voice. My mother collapsed back onto the sofa, her hands over her face, sobbing. I read aloud, my voice breaking. Daniel promised me he would come back. He said he would take care of me. Daniel lied. He built a new life. Left me here with nothing but shame. I looked up at him. His face was stone. I turned to another page. He thinks no one knows about the child. But secrets don't stay buried forever. The words hung in the air like thunder. My mother screamed, "Stop!" But I didn't. "You have another family, don't you?" I demanded, tears burning my eyes. "Another child. Another life you've been hiding from us." His lips parted slightly, the first crack in his stone mask. But still, no words came. And that silence, that cursed silence, was all the answer I needed. My mother's sobs turned into wails, shaking her body as though the truth had finally broken free after years of being buried. And in that moment, I realized, my stepfather wasn't just a stranger. He was a betrayer. The room was filled with sound, my mother's sobs, my own ragged breathing, but the man at the center of it all stood silent, as if nothing had happened. My mother clung to the edge of the sofa, rocking back and forth. "Why, Daniel? Why didn't you tell me?" Her voice cracked like shattered glass. He didn't look at her. His eyes were on me, cold, unflinching. "Because the past doesn't matter," he said finally. "What matters is now. This family. This house. This family." I spat, my voice shaking. "You mean the one built on lies?" He clenched his jaw. "Don't twist things you don't understand." But my mother broke then. She pressed her palms to her face, wailing. "All these years, I defended you. I turned against my own child for you." Her shoulders heaved, tears spilling into her lap. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel anger toward her. I felt pity. She wasn't just a mother who had failed me. She was a woman trapped in the lies of a man she thought she loved. And in that moment, I made a promise to myself. This truth would not remain buried. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. The silence in the house was suffocating, thicker than any storm. My mother sat slumped in her chair, exhausted from crying. My stepfather disappeared into the bedroom, shutting the door as though the truth could be locked away. But I knew what I had to do. By morning, I was gone. Notebook in hand, I walked through the streets of our neighborhood. My heart pounded with every step, but my mind was clear. People deserved to know who this man really was. I stopped in front of Mrs. Adebayo's house, the neighbor who always lingered on her porch, gossiping with others. If one person heard, everyone would. She looked up as I approached. "Ah, child, you're back. Your mother said you ran away." I shook my head, my throat dry. "I didn't run away. I was thrown out. And it was because of him." Her brows furrowed. "Because of who?" I opened the notebook, holding it up like a weapon. "Because of Daniel. My stepfather. The man you all think is respectable." Her eyes widened. I read the first page out loud. My voice shook at first, but then it grew steadier, stronger. And with every word, I felt the walls of his silence crumble. By noon, the whole street had gathered outside our house. Men, women, children, they stood in clusters, whispering, pointing, eyes burning with curiosity and shock. I stood on the steps of the house, the notebook in my hands, my voice echoing across the crowd. "He thinks no one knows about the child. But secrets don't stay buried forever." Gasps rippled through the neighbors. My mother stood behind me, trembling, her face streaked with tears. She didn't try to stop me this time. My stepfather emerged finally, his face stiff with fury. "What do you think you're doing?" he demanded, his voice booming. I held up the notebook. "I'm telling the truth you tried to bury. I'm telling them who you really are." The crowd murmured louder, eyes shifting between him and me. He stepped forward, his hand raised as if to snatch the notebook from me. But I pulled back, shouting, "Don't touch me!" The crowd gasped again. "You lied to us!" I screamed. "You lied to her. You lied to me. You have another family, don't you? Another child you abandoned." His face twisted with rage, but he said nothing. And that silence, the same silence he had always used as a shield, betrayed him at last. The crowd erupted in whispers, some in anger, some in pity for my mother. For the first time, he looked small. The days that followed were chaos. The whispers became stories, the stories became truth, and the truth spread like wildfire. Neighbors stopped greeting him. Men who once shared drinks with him crossed the street to avoid him. Women shook their heads when he passed, muttering about betrayal and shame. My mother couldn't leave the house without feeling the sting of their eyes. But strangely, she no longer defended him. She no longer raised her voice at me. One night, I overheard them arguing. "You've ruined me," she screamed. "Do you hear them? Do you hear what they call me now? The woman who chose a liar over her own child." His voice was low, seething. "If she hadn't opened her mouth." "Don't you dare blame her," my mother snapped. "This is your doing. Your lies. Your past. Your shame." For the first time, she was defending me. And for the first time, he had no answer. Within a week, he was gone. He packed his things in silence, his head bowed, his pride shattered. He didn't even say goodbye. The door shut behind him, and with it, years of control and silence finally broke. The house was quieter after he left. Not peaceful, quiet in the way ruins are after a storm. But for the first time, the silence didn't suffocate me. My mother sat with me at the table one evening, her hands folded, her face lined with regret. "I was blind," she whispered. "I thought protecting him meant protecting us. But I see now. I lost you in the process." Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached for my hand. For a moment, I hesitated. Then, slowly, I let her hold it. "I'm sorry," she said. "For everything." A part of me wanted to reject her, to spit the pain back at her. But another part, the part that still longed for a mother's love, softened. "It's not over," I said quietly. "We can still rebuild. But not on lies. Not on silence." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. That night, I sat by the window, the notebook in my lap. I traced the letters one last time before closing it for good. The truth had broken us, yes. But it had also freed us. And as the night stretched before me, I whispered to myself, "I am no longer just the girl who spoke his name. I am the girl who found her own." The end.